Hello everyone, welcome to IT-KnowledgeBase, back again with another actual informative and very exciting video. Do you love the basics of merely genuine password resetting options in the pfSense firewall? Then you will be going to enjoy this video. In this video, I will specifically talk about how to reset your forgotten or lost pfSense default login admin password without losing the firewall configuration. At the time of this recording, pfSense latest version is 2.6.0 release. This is a very precise video lecture that includes imperative and new material. It's slightly longer due to the latest information that I am going to share with you dear fellas, and it's very critical that you all should know before resetting the pfSense firewall, virtual or hardware appliance password. This is an essential precise video where I am attempting my best to demystify the pfSense fable and then cover two official methods to reset your lost or forgotten password reset procedure step by step. There are many circumstances when you may mislay or forget your pfSense firewall. Maybe you have forgotten your newly changed password for any reasons or lost it. Might be your firewall administrator has just changed for intelligence due to the company's CEO ablaze type of circumstances. Keep in mind that user admin is the only default and highest privilege administrator account in the pfSense firewall. There are only two genuine ways to regain your pfSense firewall with full control without losing your firewall configuration. Please note, this is the only official and legitimate method without using any third-party rescue disk. Okay, do some super cool stuff. Let's jump into a quick and very informative pfSense firewall, a roughly new proposition. Content cover in this lecture. What does pfSense stand for and mean? Introduction to pfSense. A small list of all the pfSense features, common deployments of pfSense firewall, partitions and file system selections, types of file systems available in pfSense, two effective methods to reset the admin password, validate pfSense file system, UFS or ZFS, pros and cons, password reset methods, and advice for ZFS volumes as read-write. What does pfSense stand for or pfSense mean? The early tagline for the pfSense open source project was making sense of PF, referring to the packet filter technology at the core of the project. PF in FreeBSD can perform many of the basic packet filtering and quality of service firewall tasks. pfSense software make it easier to manage, monitor, and maintain. It completes this by layering an easy-to-use GUI and customized services on top of the operating system. A complete firewall, router, and VPN solution that is capable of much more than the sum of the underlying components. Introduction to pfSense. pfSense is open source, free, easy to use, and easy to build hardened FreeBSD based firewall and routing platform. pfSense also includes most of the features that are available only in expensive commercial firewall. pfSense can be used to turn a computer into a router and firewall. You can install pfSense on any physical machine or hypervisor. The most popular are Hypervisor 1. Corporates always prefer to go with Hypervisor 1, which is VMware E6i and Hyper-V. In Hypervisor 2, you can install VMware Workstation Pro, Hyper-V and VirtualBox, and this is perfect for your lab and for your practice. pfSense can be used as a border firewall and protect your infrastructure. pfSense also supports full-featured proxy, routing, firewall, NAT, load balancing, multi-WAN, failover, and high availability. Corporates and data centers also using as a border edge firewalls and routers. This is a small list of pfSense vital features. You can go through them one by one, and I will definitely cover all the features in great detail in my upcoming videos. You can say confidently that pfSense includes most of the features available only in expensive commercial firewalls. That's why this product is extensively valuable and used in large data centers and NOC network operation centers as well. pfSense can meet the needs of nearly any type and size of network environment, from SOHO to data center environment. The common deployments of pfSense, and you can turn this firewall into a perimeter firewall, a LAN router, a WAN router, special purpose appliances. For examples, you can turn pfSense into a VPN appliance, a sniffer appliance, and a DHCP server appliance. You can go through this slide yourself for a much better understanding. Before we jump into the password reset section, we must have to understand pfSense file systems initially, because the password reset instruction is slightly different for each file system. Now let's talk about the partitions. It's very important for you to know which file system your pfSense firewall is using, because password reset procedures and their commands are very dependent on the different file systems levels. During the installation phase, you may have a clear choice to choose the ZFS file system, which is a default selection and recommended to install pfSense, or either go with the UFS. In our next slide, we will discuss and see some obvious differences between the ZFS and UFS file systems. During the pfSense installation, you may see the partitioning of your disk area. During the pfSense installation, you may see the partitioning options of your disk. Auto ZFS launch the ZFS configuration section of the installer. Auto UFS with BIOS option automatically creates partitions and formats the disk with UFS and a traditional legacy BIOS style boot environment. Auto UFS UEFI support, it automatically creates partitions and formats the disk with UFS and a UEFI boot environment. You can also create the manual partitions. If you are an experienced administrator, you can manually create partitions and file systems, or if you are super confident to manage partitions and file systems manually, you can use shell and rollout. I would recommend going with Auto ZFS instead, because it offers great recovery, optimization, and have great benefits to use with. There are two types of file systems available in the pfSense firewall: UFS Unix file system and ZFS Zettabyte file system, which is a default and recommended by my experience. Let's talk about some file system confines. UFS Unix file system. UFS is a file system unique to Unix. UFS removed descendant of the original version 7 Unix file system. UFS is an old version that has limitations on space and various other features. UFS is more compatible with Unix operating systems. UFS have a lesser storage capacity. UFS have certain disadvantages over ZFS. UFS is an open source software licensed under the Common Development and Distribution License, or CDDL. UFS is out of the box now, not as robust as ZFS. If you are working constantly with lots of huge data, go with the ZFS file system. Some versions of Unix are not compatible with ZFS. UFS is the only option. UFS is a simpler file system, easier to understand and work with. ZFS, Zettabyte file system. ZFS supports for high storage capacities, logical volume manager to combine file system. ZFS have unlimited snapshots, clones, file system, pool basis storage, self-healing, half-written log or configuration file if you lose power. ZFS have an integration of concepts of file system and volume management, snapshots and copy on write clones. ZFS have a continuous integrity checking and automatic repair. ZFS also support RAID Z and native NFS version 4 ACLs. It's open source software licensed under the Common Development and Distribution License, or CDDL, recommended to use in its place of UFS, made up of a plethora of features and components. ZFS capacity is rather large in comparison to standard file system. ZFS does much better on power failure than UFS. There are only two official and effective ways to reset your pfSense user admin password. Method number 1. Reset the password directly from the pfSense within the unprotected console menu. Method number 2. Reset the password with a locked or password protected console. Please note, you must first validate the pfSense firewall file system, either running on UFS or ZFS. You can find the file system from the web configuration, web UI, and from the pfSense shell console. Please note, this is the only legit method to reset your pfSense password. To validate your pfSense firewall file system, whether it's running UFS or ZFS, log into your web configuration or web GUI interface. On the dashboard area, you may find the disk widget. Here you may easily able to see the file system type, either using UFS or ZFS. The second alternative is during the pfSense bootloader menu, where pfSense loading kernel and a bunch of other stuff. You can easily see your pfSense file system either using ZFS or UFS. And certainly we will see it live in action later in this lecture. The third alternative is through the shell console. Either connect with the console cable directly to your firewall, or open the virtual console if you are running pfSense as a virtual machine. Or you might boot pfSense firewall in the single user mode option to reset the password. In any case, just run the following command: fsck space -y space /. I must share file system timing here. pfSense software will run a file system check at boot when it detects an unclean UFS file system, typically from after a power outage or other sudden unclean reboot or shutdown. But this is absolutely not necessary for ZFS file system. There is no file system check equivalent for ZFS, and it is not prone to issues for which UFS and other file system types require checks and repairs. So after you run the command fsck space -y space /, either you get an output with the UFS ID as shown in the image 1. This is humble enough to understand which file system you are running on your pfSense firewall, or you may receive an error, no such file or directory, as depicted in the image number 2. In the ZFS file system, this is the recovering way to understand which file system is running into your pfSense firewall. Use this practice when you can say you really don't know the file system type and you've jumped into the password reset procedure. Through this, you can easily identify which file system you are using in your pfSense firewall. Now let's talk about the pros and cons of method number 1 and 2. This is very essential from a security perspective and follows the best approach to secure your pfSense firewall. Method number 1. Reset the password directly from the pfSense unprotected console menu. And the pros is, this is a quick and effective. Speedily reset the password in a few seconds. No downtime and no network outage. No data loss. All firewall rules, NAT, OpenVPN, routes, interfaces will remain as unbroken. Can be reset through a virtual machine console or with physical intervention to your firewall and connecting the console cable. Undeniably, old password is not required. Reboot is also not required. And the cons is, this is unsecured in any way. Anyone can reset the password. Anyone can reset the firewall in a factory default. This is the biggest security risk. Unrestricted administration through the console menu, and the firewall can be unresponsive. Method number 2, reset the password with a locked or password protected console, and the pros is, this is a protected and tenable. This is a security best practices. Only authorized can reset the password through the console menu. Only authorized can reset the firewall in a factory default after login with a valid username and password. No data loss. All firewall rules, NAT, OpenVPN, routes, interfaces will remain as unbroken. Undeniably, old password is not required, and the firewall will be in the safe hands. And the cons is, cannot reset the password through the console menu because it's a password protected console. Surefire physical security is required. You have to boot pfSense firewall in the single user mode option. Required pfSense firewall to take offline in order to follow the password reset procedure. 2 consecutive reboots are required to accomplish, and unspecified interruptions. Method number 1. Understand the steps involved and follow in action. Reset the admin password directly from the pfSense unprotected console menu. Please note, connect in advance via serial connection to the pfSense firewall, or connect the monitor and keyboard to display the pfSense console. If you are accessing your pfSense firewall over the network, then it's fine. Open the pfSense console menu, directly intervene or through the virtual console. Navigate and hit enter to option number 3. This is a reset web configurator web GUI password depicted in the image number 1. Check the verbose output, password and privileges. For the web configurator, admin will be reset to its default password, which is pfSense. The password for the web configurator web GUI has been reset to default for the username admin as depicted in the image number 2. Your password is now reset to its default. Now type admin in the username field, and it's newly reset the default password, which is pfSense in this case. Whenever you see the warning about the admin account password being set to the default value, which simply means your admin account is having a default password that is a pfSense, it's really unsafe and you have to change it swiftly. Method number 2, understand the steps involved and follow in action. Reset the admin password from protected locked console menu, and this is for remount ZFS volumes as read-write. Connect in advance via serial connection to the pfSense firewall, or connect the monitor and keyboard to display the pfSense console. If you are accessing your pfSense firewall over the network, then it's fine. Reboot the pfSense hardware or virtual appliance. Choose boot single user mode, option number 2 from the loader menu. Press enter when prompted to start and type /bin/sh:. Now remount the ZFS volumes and all the partitions as read-write. You have to type this command. If the above procedure produces an error, try this command. Next, mount all ZFS file systems, datasets, etc. You have to type this command. Now next, run the built-in password reset command to reset to the default password. Then follow the prompt to reset the password. Then run /sbin/reboot to reboot your pfSense firewall. Now you can log in with the default username admin and the password with pfSense. We encourage you to change the password to be more secure. First, verify and see how to protect or lock your console menu screen. Now verify your pfSense firewall shell console should be protected and you have no way to reset the password from the shell console as we did earlier in method number 1. Now only the option left in your hand is to take your pfSense firewall offline or in single user mode to perform the password reset method. Choose option number 2, boot single user. pfSense is loading kernel and a bunch of other necessary stuff. Here you can see the file system type as well. Now simply hit enter here. Now the password reset procedure is telling you that admin password and privileges will be reset to the default, which is pfSense. Press Y to proceed yes. Hit enter. Now type this command to reboot the pfSense. Your password is now reset to its default. Now type admin in the username field and it's newly reset the default password, which is pfSense in this case. Whenever you see the warning about the admin account password being set to the default value, which simply means your admin account is having a default password that is a pfSense, it's really unsafe and you have to change it swiftly. Reset the admin password from protected locked console menu and this is for remounting UFS volume as read-write. Connect in advance via serial connection to the pfSense firewall, or connect the monitor and keyboard to display the pfSense console. If you are accessing your pfSense firewall over the network, then it's fine. Reboot the pfSense hardware or virtual appliance. Choose boot single user mode. This is option number 2 from the loader menu. Press enter when prompted to start /bin/sh : remount UFS volume all the partitions as read-write. You have to type this command and hit enter. Run the built-in password reset command to reset the default password. Enter this command and hit enter. Follow the prompt to reset the password. Now finally run /bin/reboot and hit enter to reboot your pfSense firewall. Now you can log in with the default login admin and password pfSense and change the password to be more secure. First, verify and see how to protect or lock your console menu screen. Now verify your pfSense firewall shell console should be protected and you have no way to reset the password from the shell console as we did earlier in method number 1. Now only the option left in your hand is to take your pfSense firewall offline or in single user mode to perform the password reset method. Choose option number 2, boot single user. pfSense is loading kernel and a bunch of other necessary stuff. Here you can see the file system type as well. Now simply hit enter here. In my case, I have forcibly power off my pfSense firewall because the shell was password protected, and for the password reset procedure, I must have to restart my pfSense forcibly, and it's using the UFS file system type. That is why the file system is required to clean first. Just issue the command fsck -fy and hit enter, and this is the self-healing procedure in the ZFS file system. You have to execute this command twice to see the file system is clean. Now the password reset procedure is telling you that admin password and privileges will be reset to the default, which is pfSense. Press Y to proceed yes. Hit enter. Now type this command to reboot the pfSense. Whenever you see the warning about the admin account password being set to the default value, which simply means your admin account is having a default password that is a pfSense, it's really unsafe and you have to change it swiftly. I must have to pitch here one piece of advice if you are using the ZFS file system in the pfSense firewall. Single user mode is a special boot mode in which only the operating system kernel is loaded and a bare minimum of functions are available likewise, including file system checking, emergency tasks, password reset, etc. An additional piece of official guidance here for ZFS file system is read and write. If the system was put into single user mode from the shell menu as depicted in the image number 1, using the reboot menu, capital S option, the next boot command must be run and clear the configuration manually. This is the syntax. ZFS system will not automatically clear this configuration when exiting single user mode. It is safe to run this command as depicted in the image number 2, even if the system was not booted in that way. So always run this command on ZFS system before exiting single user mode. Failing to clear the next boot configuration will result in the system booting back into single user mode on every boot. That's all for the now. I hope you enjoyed this video. Every slides in this video is linked to each other. So I urge you to watch the entire video and understand the core concept of how to reset the pfSense firewall admin password efficiently. This is the complete and only official way to reset lost or forgotten pfSense admin password. I sincerely appreciate it and I am pleased. If you have any questions, comments or suggestions to raise IT knowledge base, either share in the comment section or send me an email to my private address. If you want to see more awesome training content, make sure you click that subscribe button. Click it so you don't miss it. Thank you.